Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 132, and today we're going to be doing battle with the Powder Pandemonium deck. And so, before we dive in to talk about the deck, there's like a few ways I feel like we have to kind of go about analyzing this one. This is certainly not a deck that's just like running rampant at the top of the meta, but it's one that certainly has gathered quite a bit of attention over the past week. And I know this is something that we've played against in the past. I know this has popped up opponents in multiple videos. I think we played against it even in a seasonals. And so it's a deck that's been around for a while, but it's never really had much traction. I never really decided if it was something that was just a meme. Or if it was something that had like a really interesting matchup table. It was just something that I always just kind of dismissed as garbage. But again, as this has kind of picked up some steam over the past week, I'm not sure where that really comes from, right? As we come in and analyze these decks, I like to give you kind of an expert opinion on it, and I haven't fully decided yet if this is just someone out there memeing, right? You'll occasionally see these decks kind of really spike in popularity if Mega Mogwai posts a video, or what can kind of commonly happen in the competitive scene is someone's just exceptionally good at the game, will take their kind of meme or pet deck to Masters, and then they post that up on the Twitters to get some views, and it kind of catches steam on that the back of that. And it's not something that particularly points to a deck being good as much as it is just a good player playing a mediocre to bad deck. But you have to kind of decide if that's a Drissoth bringing a Nami Twisted Fate to the world, or if you have to decide if that's just someone out there, playing Yasuo, with the Nami Twisted Fate becoming a real deck and Yasuo just being garbage as usual. So that's kind of like step one that we're going to have to determine with this. I don't really know from the start if this is a real thing. Kind of piece two of this is, does this just have like a really good matchup table at the moment, right? This is a deck that, just strictly looking at the stats, it has a very good matchup against Bard Alawi. I think it's running at like 55, 57% win rate against that up in Masters. It has a serviceable matchup against the likes of the Kaisa decks. And with those two kind of in mind, that is something that could push this up towards reality. The third piece of the equation is this did catch some upgrades out of the new set, right? If we're looking for plunder cards to use with the Powder Pandemonium, Swindle is a new card that gives you a plunder for sort of free, right? It's basically activate plunder once for 1 mana. And then we did pick up the card Riptide Sermon, which directly deals damage to the opponent's face. And so we do have a couple of upgrades in the new set. We'll have to determine if that's a way to kind of, push this up to the forefront. And so, if you're not entirely familiar with what's going on with this, there's kind of two pieces to the puzzle, right? There is the namesake card Powder Pandemonium, and this is pretty good. It just putting 15 or 18 stats on the board that then send 1 damage to your opponent for each card that was summoned. And so if you can kind of navigate this situation to where you knock your opponent down to like 1 or 2 units. You come back to your attack token. You play Powder Pandemonium for 5. Your opponent only gets to follow up with 1 more unit, and then you should ideally be punching in 6 damage from the attacks, right? Our opponent has 3 units. We have 5 monkeys. We get 2 monkeys in for 6 damage, and then we get an additional 5 damage in from the Last Breath ability that deals a point of damage. And so you have this kind of 11 damage way or so to come in and close out the game. And then we have this like really super uninteractive package of burn spells in here that can help carry you the rest of the way. And so if we take a quick peek at our unit package, if we say, Teemo is unblockable most of the time, Twisted Fate can red card, Yordle Grifter generates a warning shot, which deals a point of damage, and then we have warning shot, parlay, make it rain, monkey business, pokey stick, Powder Pandemonium itself, double up, and Riptide Sermon, all as ways to just deal damage to our opponent's face with very little interactivity. And so what I kind of suspect is going to happen with this is the mid-rangey decks are going to have trouble with it. The control decks are going to have trouble with it if they don't have lifesteal. And then the aggro decks are going to completely annihilate us. And then something like Talia Lysandra should probably also just come out and annihilate us. Talia Lysandra can win the game on turn 7 or so, and we might be a little bit slower than that. And so those are the kind of things to keep in mind. We are playing this plunder style, but at its heart, we are just playing a burn deck. And let's come in, deal some early damage with our small plunder units, and then look to burn out our opponents the rest of the way. And so that's what we'll be doing battle with. You know what we have to do before the battles begin? We do have to go and pay the pay-to-win price. We have to turn something premium, and I think we have a handful of things here. Ooh, we have access to the warning shot, but the one that was interesting to me was Swindle. I'm not entirely sure how this works, but I think if we manifest a non-champion card from our opponent's hand while the Swindle is premium, then our manifested card should be premium as well. And so we're going to go ahead and give that one the upgrade. Looking good to go now. Let's go ahead and jump on into battle. Man, I was just looking at our stats there, our currencies, if you will. And we hit over 500,000 gems, and I never caught on to that happening. We were really rolling up in the gem count as Expedition was a thing, and then when they took it away, I kind of quit paying attention to it. But I wonder if someone's hit 1 million yet, because we haven't put a ton of effort into this, and we're getting up there pretty high. But gotta find some kind of currency sink into the game to deal with all those. But nonetheless, we're ready for battle. Monkey business is coming at you. Let's see how these things go. Oof. All right, first opponent ready to catch some trouble. The Aphelios deck. This one, just kind of off the top of my head, is something that feels like it should worry us a little bit. They tend to have counters to everything we're trying to do, with Aphelios generating lifesteals and then us not being able to deal with a Winding Light. So I don't feel like this is going to be too strong, but we're going to give it a go. And then here, we're going to look for some early game plays. Ideally, we'll be starting with the likes of Teemos and Jagged Taskmasters, but I'm not opposed to hanging on to some of the more interactive cards depending on the matchup. And so like a Parlay could be okay here. It all just kind of depends on the matchup. But up against the Boom Baboon matchup, things like Make It Rain and Parlay have a lot of merit. Okay. Teemo ready to do his thing. Get us one of these opposing turn puff caps. Activate Plunder at a convenient time. I appreciate it, my dude. It was always so nice when that would happen playing like Teemo Sejuani. Like we just pick up the Taskmaster, and so if we say hit on our opponent's turn, and then we got access to the Taskmaster like right now, it's always so strong. I don't think it's going to be, ooh, this is a horrible attack with the Flame Chompers. Either hook because you want to make it happen. Don't just give me the option, right? This now makes our Make It Rains even stronger. We can parlay the Flame Chompers. That is a horrible attack. Either hook or don't. But all right, let's see what we can do regardless. I'm going to open up with the Make It Rain next turn. Ideally, we'll hit, the 1 health, and then face. And then with that additional Plunder, we can drop a Jagged Butcher and Jagged Taskmaster. We'll see how it shapes up, though. It's like I don't want to throw the Jagged Taskmaster on the board and then just have it immediately trade with the Messenger. And so we'll see how these things go. We might find ourselves just playing a Parlay this turn. We'll see what happens. All right, so we hit the full unit set, so we'll need to drop a Parlay to try and hit the face damage here. Okay. And then, yeah, the way that this is panning out, I don't really suspect our ground units are going to be able to deal damage this game. I'm more than happy to Parlay away this Daring Poro, but I think we'll play the Taskmaster and then not expect too much out of him. Oh, fuck. So we just miss out on a point of damage like this. We can still attack with Teemo to hit the Plunder, but we don't get all the damages in. Oh shit, I completely missed that. It's okay. You fought valiantly, Teemo. You tried your best. Sometimes your best just isn't good enough. All right, let's see if we can swing this back around. I want to get Twisted Fate down now. Like, I get that he has a Daring Poro in hand, and we could go for mega value, if you will, but if we miss out on the damages, we're going to regret it. So it's like if he just opens and swings in, it's going to be a little bit painful. What up, Reg? Fortunately, can't get these plunders down now. I would like to... It's like we have this great early game package in our hand, but we don't have the tools to get the damage in. Something's happening. Get excited onto Steve? Sure. Do we want to keep the other one? We probably have to. It's like I'm trying to envision this situation where we would rather pick a card instead of having the actual Twisted Fate in our hand. But we have a lot of potential to just AoE clear his board next turn, and then actually chunk in a lot of damage on our follow-up attack. So we'll see. Like, we have just run out of stuff to do. We might end up wanting to just blue card our Twisted Fate, but we at least got a reasonably powerful board here. What are we up to? We're up to 4 plunders. Let's be a little greedy here. See if he adds anything else to the board. All right. Red card it is. I don't think this will be the upcoming round for Powder Pandemonium, but maybe. If we trade away a unit here and then activate for 4, it's pretty decent. And that's pulling up the kind of situation I was talking about at the beginning of the video, and that if, say, he attacked with the Sump Dredger and we made a trade, then we would have the potential to put 4 units on the board. Opponent would have his 2 Flame Chompers. He could add 1 unit to that point, but we'd still have a bunch of units being able to punch through. I am still going to go ahead and Powder Pandemonium here. He's coming up on his Winding Light turn, and we have to just clear out this board wherever we can. We can't have him just dropping a full board Winding Light next turn. So, need to just clear everything. Okay, we'll hook like this. This puts our Jagged Taskmaster in the lands of safety, and then he still needs to block our larger, or the guaranteed blocks come into our monkeys. All right, he cycles. I think we're safe in the event of a Winding Light. I was going to say, he needs another unit. So again, he's going to have 8 mana plus 1 next turn. Trying to decide if we want to go ahead and pop one of these units. It's probably worthwhile. The downside to this is we won't have a Plunder next turn. So if we pick up, I don't know, a Monkey Business, right, then we won't have the Plunder to activate it because we just don't have any more cards in hand. But at least get some stats in the event that he bursts out the Winding Light. Pokey Stick was a good draw. Just give us a way to spend those manas. Yeah, he's so close to just getting lethal, but this feels like he's playing Zoe and then he's going to follow up with the Winding Light, so I think we're going to get the opportunity to pop her here. Sure, this thing's fine. Things are happening. An unspeakable horror. Okay. Still seems pretty reasonable. We're getting close to the lethals here. I don't think I can bring myself to play Black Market Merchant here. We'll see what he adds to the board. It's like we are getting to this spot to where if we just have enough width, we might be able to kill him. But he does also play like Mystic Shots and things in his deck. So we do have a lot of potential good draws out of this. Oh, it's so close. Like, what? The question would be, is he have a way to deal with 2 of our cards? I don't think that they're going to, right? It's not like he's going to have a Static Shock to deal 2 damage to our stuff. And there we go. That's how you close out the game right there. You just take your opponent's Winding Light. Alright, time for an emote. LOL. Cupcake it. Feel like that should do it. I think this game's done. There you go. You just play Winding Light in your decks, right? That's all it takes. Let's cut this Teemo, cut this this Pokey Stick, and then just either add in Bard or add in Winding Light. That's how you solve all the problems. Aye, GG. Oh man, this one hit me on my travels here recently. It's like I have to say, I hope you can understand when I talk. It was so weird. Like I've gotten kind of used to, like the people I'm around just get used to how I talk. Like no one from Kansas City has this sweet Appalachian accent, but I've been around my kind of like friend circle now that they just quit saying "huh" after everything I say, and so it's like they've all kind of gotten used to the twang and the accent. But I made my way to Oklahoma City, where apparently no Appalachian people hang out. And like literally every person I interacted with, like I would make a response or ask for something or whatever, and they'd all say, "Huh?" Every time. And so it's not the most common of accents that people are sitting around making the YouTube videos with, and so I hope you all can soak it in, understand what's being said. And, all right, a bit of an unfortunate start. I mean, he did have to spew off a bunch of stuff to try and take down our early game, but we would have ideally been able to punch in a couple of points of damage there. Now it's like we're kind of stuck. If we want to get these guys going, which is my plan, we do just have to parlay to face, and I think that's still where I stand. I think our units are good enough to warrant parlaying. If you're not familiar with this, this is something it took me forever to learn in Expedition. You don't have to deal damage to the unit, right? That's kind of bonus mode to where you deal a point of damage to the unit, and then you get the point of damage to face, but if you kind of fail, then you don't get that trick. And I used to always think that, you know, I had to like line up these perfect boards to kill an opponent with parlay. And then somebody eventually told me, they're just like, "Hey, dipshit, you don't have to send it in a unit. You can just send it right to face." And so it's like, oh, well, that's good to know. Good to know. So that's what we did. We didn't have any units on board. We were able to send it directly to face. All is well. Let's get to it. So we are going to have a pretty scary Powder Pandemonium when that comes around. It's a little worrisome playing against Twisted Fate decks, since Twisted Fate is pretty good at just going murder mode on the on the 1 health units. But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe we'll get to pull something off here. It's like we get the opportunity to play it like a little slow next turn, given that we can just Death's Hand the Arachnoid Sentry and give him a chance to spend some mana. But we'll see how he wants to go about it. He is down to 2 cards, so potential for scaries for opponent here. And we unfortunately don't have the mana to go full combo with the Jagged Taskmaster, but again, I'm still a little bit scared about this Powder Pandemonium. And oof. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Laser beam. Time for that shit. What you think, Steve? We just put 20 stats on the board. All right, says Neg 17 coming in. Rip him. Opponent's probably not feeling too hot about dropping that Twisted Fate. But granted, like I don't know what it was in his hand. If his hand was like just Twisted Fate and Fortune Croaker, then he's really hurting in that spot. And so I get it. It's just he's probably in a spot to where you just have to do it and hope that you don't get blown up there. All right, this should be a real gem up against the mirror match. Just what I was hoping we could do. I'm curious if we should hang on to our Twisted Fate in this kind of spot. He just fixes a lot of those boards. I think I'll stick to just looking for our cheap plays. Steve says, "Nah, dude, I'm worth a keep. Don't be trying to do that." All right, I was hoping to get a little bit of parlay value here, but we can't switch over to just dropping monkey business. I think that's the way I would like to approach it here as well. We'll play the Pokey Stick. The downside to Pokey Stick is if he plays monkey business now, then we can't kill the monkey with any of our spells. Alright, well he's pretty much out of mana now, so this should be a good monkey business. He does have one. Okay. Oh, it's not even our attack token. LOL. I completely thought that that was ours. Alright, so I'm not super interested in Make It Rain here. The parlay should be fine. We get to parlay and add a Jagged Butcher. We end up just trading units kind of across the board here. I think it's okay. Sure. Everybody bringing in the trades. More Make It Rains. Okay. So this is a downside. Like, this is his big advantage right now, is he gets to open with the Taskmaster and hit us for 3. Ooh. Apparently somebody's got a Powder Pandemonium in hand. I'll take one of those, please and thank you. I wonder if that's ever a downside to take, because now he has access to our Powder Pandemoniums. Interesting. Let's take another one. Thank you. Alright, well, if he has Twisted Fate, we can still power through. I mean, I guess like we can play it and then he can play his own, but it feels like we get to be the ones ahead if that's what happens. Okay, we do still, it's not like a 0 value play. We do still get to send 5 damage to face. So, no complaints from me. This will get us pretty close to lethal. See, again, he can only add 1 unit to the board. I guess he can play his own Powder Pandemonium, right? But ours is just way better. We're doming him for 6. This is just lethal now. Says, uh-oh. GG. Boomed him real good. took down the mirror. I mean, that seems high rolly as fuck. How lucky was that though, hitting the manifest twice onto the powder pandemonium? I'm curious if he had two in hand. There's no way he had two in hand. He would have just played a second one there. Or no, he played Twisted Fate. That was probably just a mistake in him not playing his own powder pandemonium and getting blown up. But that was super lucky hitting both of ours. All right, so up against oh, he's playing Demacia. Trundle Tryndamere with Demacia. What's the deal with that? Why isn't he playing Shadow Isles? At any rate, I'm still going to mulligan and look for our Teemos and our 1-drops, but I don't... Like, I would assume that this is like a Trundlemere Feel the Rush deck, but I don't see what you gain by adding Demacia in. This is kind of painful, though. We really need a cheap dude. I guess Warning Shot's going to have to be okay. Like to just chunk in a little bit. Okay. Let's get that damage in where we can. Alright, well I guess he's playing single combat. Single combat is kind of premier with these faces of the old ones. Alright, well he hit the big boy ramps today. Teemo's like a little scary, but like we're just never gonna get him, right? If we, I guess there's a world where like we go into next turn and he just plays a avalanche or something, and we could have played it a little bit slower. But I feel like just getting this 3 bank in, and then seeing what we can do with Twisted Fate next turn is probably gonna be our closest path to victory. So we have mana to where if our only plunder option is to red card Twisted Fate, then we at least have this 3 bank so we could spend up to 4 mana. Okay, Yordle Grifter's fine. The downside with Tiana, huh? we can probably cast that at some point. The downside with this monkey business is the way these turns are going to go. It's going to come to our turn, so our round start abilities are going to happen. So we'll put the monkey business monkey onto the board. Then opponent's round start things will happen, and the Blighted Ravine will then blow up our monkey. Now I'm still just going to go ahead and do it. I want to get these points of damage in while we can. But note that we're not gonna get to attack with this monkey. I wonder if this guy's playing War Mother's Call instead of Feel the Rush, and that's why we're seeing Tiana. See ya, monkey. Alright, so we'll take our 3. We are kind of in a spot to where, I mean, if we get a board going, we can play Tiana next turn. Maybe get a big attack in. He's not playing anything.
Never lost a fair game or played one.
Sure. Do we want to cycle away Twisted Fate? He's pretty weak here, but I think we can let this go. Or we can hang on to him in hand. Just be a bit of cycle. We wouldn't play any of the drawn cards for a few turns from now. And we still get to... Oh, we're already plundered.
The strong don't want mercy.
Alright, let's see how awesome this is, Tiana. This is gonna be sweet. I can already tell.
I smell a fight.
So how do we want to go about this? Like, we can't like gold card this turn. Like if we want to shut down the Tryndamere, we can technically just kill Tryndamere, which is reasonable, pretty reasonably strong. But
A crown guard never falters.
let's see, right? If we just block, he's gonna level up, and Tiana's gonna be down here with 1 health.
A threat.
And then we can attack back and pokey stick down the Tryndamere if we need to, or just kill him with a red card or something.
The beast will wait.
Oh, he gets tough. Forgot that he got tough. That's okay. Gotta get that handful of damage in.
I'm always up for a round or two.
Right, so it's not looking too hot. If he has like a Feel the Rush or something, we're pretty hosed. Pretty hosed with this as well. Uh-oh. Oh no. We needed to play the single combat here as well. Single combat the Taskmaster to take down the Tryndamere. Probably... Oh, okay, his unit just died. I guess we didn't need to do that. So what do we have? We got 2, 3, 4 damage in hand. Not the burn range I was really hoping for. But something like Powder Pandemonium will still close this game out if we get the 6 AoE damage in. Has some merit to it. You gotta ping them. You gotta get these 1 damages in. It's tough when they have the heal, right? That's why I was so worried about the lifesteal stuff when we were playing against Aphelios, right? This guy's gained 7 at this point. Not a deck that's really, really designed to hit for that much damage. The Powder Pandemoniums can do it, but without it, it's kind of tough. All right, let's inch our way in. We can make it rain. We can parlay the It That Stares. We can follow up with Monkey Business. We got some options, right? So weird seeing these cards. Like, these are such bad removal spells for a deck like this. Like like the way that these games will sequence is like you have your early game plays, which are the things like the ramp units, and they have 0 power, and then you have your big plays, which should just outright win the game anyways. So it's really weird seeing stuff like single combat come out of these decks because it's just so not fitting. But this one's done. GG. Right, when you see decks like single combat, you're looking at something, say like if you say like Bard Poppy Jarvan, right, or Scouts or whatever. Scouts doesn't really play it, but the same kind of idea applies as to where I'm going to use my 3/3 to pick off your small play and then still be able to attack and trade. It's like what single combat do you get with that deck that you outright win? Out of a spot you shouldn't just be outright winning anyways, right? Your play, you can get it with Trundle, I guess. He was playing Trundle, but if you're playing a single combat on Tryndamere, you should have already won the game. If you're playing a single combat on Tiana, you should have just already won the game. It's just an odd deck building decision to see Demacia over Shadow Isles for the removal spells, right? I could see an argument for playing other factions over Shadow Isles for, reasons. But I don't think that reason should be removal spells. I think Shadow Isles is kind of the cream of the crop as far as that's concerned. But I guess if he's played War Mother's Call, then maybe there was a thing there that it could have fit in. Oh, right. Next battle. Up against the Kaisa, sure. Let's see. Always interesting with the Taskmasters. I think they're kind of okay here. Like, we're definitely going to hang on to this Pokey Stick, but it's kind of one of these spots to where they don't win combats, they just trade. But there are enough, like, small units in the opposing deck for it to maybe be okay. I think we can get rid of one. Let's just hang on to one, hang on to Pokey Stick, and then try and find something a little bit more interactive for the early game. Make it rain kind of things. They do have a lot of 1 health units, and then the thing to kind of watch out for against the Kaisa decks are Make It Rains and stuff can be useful to pop spell shields. And so if we need to try and gold card a Kaisa or something, and she has the spell shield, we can try and use Make It Rains to punch through. Not always the most guaranteed strongest plan, but it is potentially a thing. This is unfortunate with the Voidling hitting tough. Kind of is what it is, but when you're trying to set up this like Make It Rain Jagged Butcher play, it's a little unfortunate to see that thing hit the board with tough. I mean, maybe we should have just gone ahead and dropped the Butcher, but I don't know. I think I'm still okay. Like, I know that we're playing a lot of burn and stuff in this deck, but I think it's okay to accept that we're not actually an aggro deck, even though we have like this 1-drop and 2-drop that feel aggressive. We don't need to be like trying to rush down these units and punch in damage. We're not playing pirates, so maybe it's still okay. It's still pretty unfortunate that he's gonna hit the tough and then likely to hit. Wow, just another one with tough. Okay, I guess that's a thing. I'm just gonna wait. I want to get the plunder on both our Jagged Butcher and our Jagged Taskmaster, so it's unfortunate that our Make It Rains are going to be garbage here, but I think it's just kind of the way we have to go about it. Okay, we hit the face. That's all that I'm really concerned about here. So we get to prevent the damage from the Broadwing. I mean, he is fairly far behind, at least in terms of his plays. Like, in terms of getting this leveled up Kaisa on the board, he doubled up on tough, and then he hasn't hit Challenger yet with the Broadwing. And so it should be like turn 7 or turn 8 or so until that Kaisa can actually flip. Okay, got us for 4.
The weak don't deserve mercy.
And then I'm not going to play the Swindle. I'd like to keep this mana banked up a little bit, just in the event we want to drop a Riptide Sermon. I don't think this is in the cards, right? We can't really play it next turn if we want to play our Jagged Butcher this turn, but I don't feel like the Swindle gets us anything right now. There's no card we're looking to dig for. We're not trying to level up our Powder Pandemoniums with the Plunder. It just let's wait a little bit on this one. Let's think about it a little more. We gotta take our time with this one. Use the full amount of that rope as we're battling through Platinum. It's a Powder Pandemonium, but that'll be powerful on our next attack. We'll be up to 4 plunders at least, and then we'll have double Jagged Taskmaster. So we should have some pretty strong hits coming through. Now, do we actually want to Pokey Stick this Broadwing? I don't think people have given up on Sharp Sight at this point. It's now weaker, right? With the new patch, Sharp Sight doesn't count as a ability, but it seems a little greedy to try and punch through that way. Is he evolved now? He should be. There's the 5th keyword. Always takes this guy a while to level up, and so I would say the Kaisa will come down flipped next turn.
You ain't
Okay.
velvet blood, but I ain't saying no to help. I'm gonna do what I can, but you need to run. We have something the void will never understand.
Alright, so we're gonna have to go ahead and just like pokey stick down the Valor. Maybe we should have done that last turn, but we can't let Kaisa pick up Scout Challenger. But do we want to do this with the pokey stick? Like, I'm pretty intent on playing a Powder Pandemonium next turn. These things kind of fall apart. Alright, we'll just use the pokey stick. Like, we can't do both things. We can't Riptide Sermon and get something else going. I assume he'll copy in Overwhelm. Can put some damage on the Void Blaster, but it goes tough. Sure.
Bearing you away.
What's that you got there?
We actually don't even have to give up our good unit, right? We can just our guys are going to be 4s, and so we'll be big enough to take the Void Blaster down next turn. We just dead? We I had in my head that we were just playing for value there, but I neglected to stop and think that he might just actually lethal us. That was I might have needed to reassess that board. I just assumed our health was high enough. I didn't realize we were getting blasted so hard. But it's a little unfortunate running into the double tough there at the beginning. I feel like we're just stronger than stronger than that the way that typically played out. Okay, yes, we have Teemo. No, I'm not going to play it. I want to go into this next turn, try and make it rain something, and then follow up with the Jagged Butcher. Okay, still feels all right. Ideally, we would have gotten a 1 health unit or an extra spell shield out of this, but are you not attacking? You're not going to challenge us. Interesting. That's one way to do it, I guess.
Reporting in.
And not real worried about losing Teemo here. He's gonna fall next turn to this Broadwing. That's completely fine. We aren't a Teemo deck. This is just a 1-cost unit with elusive. He helps with the plunders and stuff. He's not the cornerstone to what we're doing. That he picked up a Fury. Just trying to decide on what we want to get going with this turn. Like, I think I'm okay if we just if he ends up just passing at us here. We can still kind of safely drop a Broadwing. We're just not going to get the Broadwing, the Black Market Merchant, and the Pokey Stick all in the same turn, and so the big question here is, do we want to try and Pokey Stick this Broadwing since we have a second one? It would be nice to take it off the board. Then if he has to trade like a Sharp Sight or a Give Your Team Tough, or some of these decks play Chain Vest now, I think that's all okay. Wow, he's just passing with 6 mana. That has to feel fairly abysmal. And oh boy, oh what a puff cap. Okay, let's get some dudes down. Rite of Calling, always interesting. Maybe that'll pick up a come and pick up a champion.
There's plenty of killing left.
A little unfortunate. I was hoping to get the hook into Kaisa so we could try and kill her with the pokey stick, but he is pretty short on the evolutions. Blinding Assault will be enough to get him there. We can pick up this Rite of Negation to counterspell the Blinding Assault. Or the other angle would be to just go ahead and pick up the Blinding Assault now and try and chunk in the damage, which I'm not opposed to. It's just like, how bad is it next turn if he gets to get those quick attack challenges in twice? It's probably too much. Oh, that's so greedy. So greedy with the block on Kaisa. I'm surprised she's not going in front of a merchant. But okay. He may realistically just have a second Kaisa in hand, given the way that this game's sequenced out. But we're not going to give him the chance to evolve. That's fine now. His units are going to grow, but we should hope... Oh, wow. He was short a keyword? Oh, that sucks, dude. That does suck.
I'm always up for a round or two.
Can't sharp sight out of this anymore. Again, he can, like, drop tough. He drops a chain vest onto Bird, then that's going to be kind of painful, but... Oh, we knew he had a Rite of Negation. We knew that. Still okay. All right, GG. Like, we literally saw it in his hand. We manifested that.
It was in the card.
But it's still good enough. All right, next battle. Oh, geez, we're doing this again? I ran into this a lot in the previous video. Might have to restart the game. Okay. Bard Garen, you got it, my dude. So what do we got? We can get rid of the Swindle. I'm always curious, like, how much we should hang on to these warning shots, given that we already have Teemo. It's probably safe to get rid of. It's just like we're searching for a lot of burnish kind of cards, like Make It Rains, and they just don't play super well against the Bard decks. Okay, definitely want the plunder though. No, I don't care if this bird takes down Teemo next turn, but I definitely want the plunder this turn. So many black market merchants. Painful. Okay. Again, not really worried about that Teemo going away as much as I wanted the plunder. Is that really enough to shut down his thing? Okay.
I'm always up for a round or two.
Gotta get these merchants going, though. This is really, really awkward how this is panning out. Oh, interesting. Really surprised he's not just throwing Bard out in front. Like, what's Bard going to do this game? Tell you what he's going to do. He's going to deal 2 damage. And just not going to care about it.
Run them hardly fair.
Okay. Alright, let's see what this dude's deck can offer up. Golden Aegeus, okay. Everything on the cheap, please. Bird, got it. Okay, maybe something cool will come out of this. And get the parlay. It's just we have this like very combat centric board now, but his units are just too big. Single combat, okay. Then we'll go ahead and play Swindle. I don't think Swindle works with these. We're not drawing an enemy card, right? We're just manifesting a card from their collection of cards. 2 Concerted Strikes and a Fleet Feather Tracker. Okay. So what can we even do with this board? I think we have to attack. Like, this 4 damage is just too important to get in. And then it's like, depending on where they block, we might get something a little bit better out of the turn. Okay. We've got him to 8. Really just need to pick up like a Powder Pandemonium at this point, and we might be fine. Now, do we want to just go ahead and single combat right now, given that we know he has 2 Concerted Strikes in hand? Like, it's a pretty big disaster if we try and single combat, and then he gets to respond with his Concerted Strike. This does weaken our Concerted Strike now, but we can still try and, like, poke down this Fleet Feather Tracker if we want. Just got all the golden Aegisuses. Huh. Yeah, he's got so much mana. But what are we, like, realistically going to do? I don't care if he tries to Concerted Strike this stuff down. Let's just go ahead and spend the mana. We need to just pick up a Powder Pandemonium. So what can we do here? Is it actually anything? I think we're just kind of stuck passing. Like, we can try and take down his Bard, then he's going to play his Concerted Strike to take down one of our units. I mean, I guess that's okay. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and just lead with this Warning Shot, Jagged Butcher. See if he spends any mana, and then if we want, we can Concerted Strike down the Fleet Feather Tracker. And so that way, if he shoots one of our units back, then we still get the kill on his play. I think this is the way we got to do it. And then I'm not really interested in attacking anymore.
I've trained my whole life for this.
Okay. Yeah, these golden Aegisuses were not the good hits in terms of black market merchant cards. Give me one of those good blockers. Okay, I appreciate it. You shouldn't be lethal here. I guess I should stop and count after that last game, but. Oh, let's wait. I guess if he doesn't lethal us here, and then we get to hit the Powder Pandemonium next turn, we might be there. If we get the 6 monkeys, there's not anything you can do about it. Really surprised to not see that Concerted Strike come down. We know he has 2 in hand. Like, what are you waiting on? Okay. Oh man, I wonder if our downfall this game is going to be actually putting the barrier on the Butcher. We have to attack. We have to get this thing off the board, right? we can't risk a 5-unit Powder Pandemonium. We have to go for 6. Well, that's not getting us there. Alright, we need a good swindle. You know, it's gonna be a bunch of concerted strikes. Alright, GG. That was a bit awkward. Like, the black market merchants certainly aren't a good early game play. It's kind of a tough mulligan there. But, got us to the final battle. We can still maybe take this up to 5-3. Not bad. Up against tokens. Alright, there's the Powder Pandemonium. I don't think we can hang on to it here. I want to hang on to the Jagged Butcher. The one I'm not certain on here is Twisted Fate. I think we probably want to hang on to Twisted Fate. It's just like being able to clear out a bunch of sparring students and a bunch of Green Glade duos is too important to pass up, I think. This hand is pure booty. We're looking to get set up with a turn 3 Riptide Sermon, which is just way too slow in the face of tokens. Okay. So what I think we'll switch to doing is, well, Twisted Fate's ultimately pretty awkward here, right? If we want to use Twisted Fate to try and kill his 1 health units, I think we want to lead with this. Let's double up the Sparring Student. Since opponent's going to get the chance to play a card before we can Twisted Fate him, let's go ahead and try and take it down. And then if he has other 1 health units, we might be able to get a bit of cleanup with him. Now this looks a little better. Like, if he opens for 2, then great. And if we get to Twisted Fate down, his apprentice is also great. And so I think that worked out nicely. Very odd turn.
I'm always up for a round or two.
And pretty dangerous here with the Diaz, right? If he has an awkward hand and can't get any attackers going, then this is going to be painful. I have to assume that he has, like, a Defiant Dance or another unit or something, but... Storm of Blades. Haven't seen that one in a while. What's that even do? I thought it gave him like +1 attack. Gives him an extra summon, right? For the rest of the game when you Blade Dance summon another blade. Okay. You got it. Oh yeah, we got the opportunity for 1 monkey here. That's pretty good, right?
The desert by my side. Let's get to it.
All right, reasonable enough. Like he's in this spot to where he might need to save the Doomkeeper if he wants to get a Diaz attack going. Otherwise, he just trades it away, and we still get the damage in with Teemo. Lead with the Swindle, just in case there's a card here we want to play. I doubt we'll play Defiant Dance, but we have the option now. I think we're okay. I mean, he only has a Defiant Dance. I forget what the other card was. We're gonna have to we're gonna have to do better to remember that. But Domination. That's right. That's right. Sure. Takes down our health a bit, which is unfortunate, because we only have like 1 good block now with the Powder Monkey, but I think this is okay. Drops to 5. I don't want to put the Tentacle back on the board. We're going to play the Powder Pandemonium here. I think we should be in a pretty good spot. I mean, if it really comes down to it, we can Defiant Dance something away. I don't think we're going to be doing that, but we got options.
The Emperor commands, the land obeys.
Armed and ready.
Yeah, you got this big boy Doomkeeper out here. He's ready to stop our biggest of attackers. Rip Twisted Fate. Still enough to get him. So GG, my dude. GG. Okay, and so, yeah. Oh, he cupcaked us? Right back at you. Oh, it's too slow. It's too busy updating our record. But not a bad collection of games. Not bad. It's tough for me to still decide where we stand on this, right? We can pull up the deck list again. But it plays reasonably well. The thing it reminds me back of is if we go back in time when we were still playing Expeditions, Riot was running into a lot of problems with the kind of Fizz Twisted Fate deck as to where it was just like really uninteractive burn style deck. And you didn't have to actually do too much in combat because you could deal a bunch of extra damage through your units. And so, like Imperial Demolitionist used to deal more damage. Things like Legion Grenadier used to deal more damage. And you just had this big collection of ways to hit damage to your opponent's face without actually doing combat damage. And that feels like what we're starting to get close to here. With like the warning shots, the parlays, the make it rains, all the various monkeys, the pokey sticks, like these all deal damage to the face without actually actively interacting with your opponent. And so I don't know where I stand with this. It feels like it's reasonable, but it's like I should say in terms of ladder, it feels like it's reasonable, but it's going to be fairly meta dependent. This is a deck that should be getting annihilated by anything that's like actively trying to stop aggro decks. And so if we look at something like Talia Lysandra, if we look at Trundlemere, all of those style of decks should be good because the heal is just so much to overcome. And so it's just like even a like early game Vile Feast onto a Teemo just does so much work in terms of just shutting down your game plan because you're just not dealing combat damage the rest of the game. Like that Vile Feast just stopped it. And so if it's a meta to where things like Talia Lysandra are fairly popular, then it's going to be a bit of a struggle. And then I think this should also struggle against things like pirates, right? Our board against pirates is just never good. Their units are oftentimes bigger than ours. Their units oftentimes just like straight up win the combats. And so that's just not something that you can really function with there. But this should present a problem to a lot of the very kind of mid-rangey style strategies as to where I know that game against Demacia didn't go particularly well, the one against Demacia Bard, but that was kind of a function of having this really awkward draw with 3 black market merchants. When you're up against those decks, you get to this space to where you know you're never going to win another combat, but you're able to still just deal all of this face damage to where you just don't care about it so much. And so I think this is probably a deck that you could look to, say, perhaps take into Gauntlet and do reasonably well with, especially if you're, say, trying to take the strategy of just ban Lysandra, right? If you just ban out Talia Lysandra anytime she shows up, you're probably fairly okay. It's just the thing that worries me about this type of strategy is it's something that you can see a lot with tokens, as to where tokens has a handful of like really good matchups, but you have to find those matchups, and then B, those matchups are by no means like guaranteed wins. I was watching a bit of seasonals this year, and one of the matchups they covered was I think it was Jason Florent that was bringing the anti Talia Lysandra matchup, and he just got domed by Talia Lysandra. And so it's not to say that you can't have like perfect matchups like that. And so I personally don't like this type of strategy to where you're gunning for Bard or you're gunning for the mid-range decks, but that's something that you could have in your toolkit. And so in terms of a ladder climber, I mean, sure, this should be fine. I think we could probably take this into Masters without too much trouble. It has enough good matchups along the way to where it's going to be fine, but I don't think it's something I'm in terms of Gauntlet, I have kind of 2 takes on it. I don't think you should assemble that lineup to where you're just trying to beat the various Bard decks, Alawi Bard being the big one, because it's just, again, you don't run into it often enough, and your matchups aren't 100% guarantees, right? They're like 70-30s and 65-35s and stuff, to where you do, realistically have a good chance of just losing to it. And so I don't think it's ideal in terms of a targeted lineup kind of thing. But I think it's fine if you're looking to just play burn decks. And so if you wanted to bring a lineup, say like this deck, and then the Draven Scion burn deck, and then something else, Annie Gen or Pirates or whatever, it's probably okay in those terms. And so I think that could be a thing. And then in terms of the deck itself, like the Teemo was okay and the Pokey Stick was okay, but I'm curious if there is just something better out there in terms of getting a little bit of targeted removal and targeted burn and stuff. I mean, they were fine, but I'm not 100% sold on those being the best options, although I was exceptionally happy with Pokey Stick today. And so maybe that's still strong. And so, yeah, kind of up in the air. I'm leaning more towards it's a real deck than it used to be. This definitely felt like it had some real power to it, and it's something that we're going to have to be aware of. But I don't think this is one of those decks that's going to push into the real S tier. This feels like it's something that would be like tier 2, and it might have an opportunity to squeeze into like tier 1.5, depending on how popular the decks are that this beats. But you're not going to see this one at the top of the meta, in my opinion, without some additional help, some new cards out there to help push it over the edge. But nonetheless, that is going to do it for us today. I hope everyone enjoyed the video. You learned how to handle your monkey business a little bit better. Maybe learned a thing or two along the way and had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.